So as you saw, we have a lot of robots in the lab. We have 9 Segways, a couple of Nows, and a lot of other robots that are being used. Chances are, if you're watching this video, you're in the Autonomous Systems Laboratory, and you're working on one of these Segways, which are our main development platform. Segway come with a lot of different equipment and technology. We have Segway platform, which is a basic wheel system. We have a 6 cam, which is a lidar that can work outside and gives you range and intensity. We have 3 cameras for images, and they also can localize AR tags. We have an Ingenious, which is our own private Wi-Fi network that we can use. So it's like a much stronger ad hoc connection. Your Wi-Fi dongle. A very powerful GPS that can give you very accurate information. An e-stop button just in case something goes wrong. And your basic hardware equipment. This segway might look different now because it's constantly being worked on and improved, but the basic equipment. We also have a monitor that allows you to communicate with the robot without remote desktop activity. So, how to use a Segway and why is it the way it is? First thing you should know about Segway is that each Segway has a name. This is Spider 06. You can use this name to know what the Segway is and can remote desktop into it, or you can remote desktop into it by knowing its color. This is black, so it's a black Segway. You can find all this information on the wiki of which Segway and what each Segway is called. Okay? As you can see here, there are locations where there are Velcro sides. These are all pre-structured for the Segways, so you can identify them with Vicon. If you're going to use Vicon, you want to grab a Vicon ball and place it in all the right locations. If these locations have changed, you can find the correct location on the wiki, and with these Vicon balls, you can start localizing the robot. The next thing you should know about is the e-stop button. If the e-stop button is not connected, the robot will not run. If it's pressed, it cuts power to the Segway, and if it's open, it's free. We have an e-stop button that works on the robot, and we have an e-stop button on the table that you can also use to stop the robot. So make sure when you're in the robot to check the e-stop button. In case something goes wrong, press it. You don't want to hurt someone with the robot, and you don't want damage. Robot also can have other sensors such as the Hakoyu, which is a much smaller LiDAR that can be attached and give you a 270-degree swipe. Hakoyus can also work outside, are a little bit less accurate than the 6 scan, but are a very good tool for a lot of information. If you need something attached, please contact the mechanical engineer in charge and ask them how they can attach the Segway to the Segways. Hey, so what you just saw here is the version 1.0 of the Segway robot and the version 2.0 of the Segway robot. So this is how the Segway initially was. And as a mechanical engineer, if you're doing any new changes to a robot, you should understand where it started, how it evolved, and where it is now. And there are reasons, and the reason why we explain these things is that so we don't end up going back in time and doing stuff that we already tried and didn't work so well. So the initial Segway had one of the major differences you notice here. It has a steel frame that is welded together for strength. It is drilled into the Segway platform. It has kind of very similar, it's a little bit lower, and it uses additional mounts to keep the robot stable so you can attach the computer and different stuff on top of it. So this caused a lot of problems over the years. One of the problems was it's very difficult to enclose this robot because the frame restricts you from changing. Another problem is that if we wanted to add more sensors or try to move a sensor, it became very rigid because you had a very structured frame. And as you know, it's very hard to bring a welded steel frame into the machine shop to drill another hole in it. Lastly, we noticed that the frame, when welding, deforms. So as you can see here, the frame is under a very high tension, so it's very dangerous when you pull out the screws here. So all of these things motivated us to change the robot. We wanted something lighter, something stronger, something more easy to use, something much easier to change, and something more dynamic for a robotic platform. We decided to use a new aluminum frame, which is, as opposed to steel, made out of connectors that allow you to connect the robot and create different structures through connectors, and connect it straight to a 1/4-inch aluminum plate. Aluminum plate drills into the Segway using its original Segway holes, and it gives you the full freedom to change the holes and structure of where you're putting the frame. This frame decided to be a little bit taller because it can handle more force. This frame is a platform, so by removing some screws you can take out the frame components and change it and add more parts. So this frame is actually made out of these connectors right here. They just pop open, as you can see here, and these connectors are being used to connect the piece together, and we then drill 2 holes in each one of these connectors to keep it still. This frame is extremely light, extremely strong, and extremely durable, as you can see by the rubber being there. Another benefit of the frame is, as you will be able to see on black Segway, is that you can add more complicated components and simply just attach them onto the Segway's original frame. If you want to have more height, to put another sensor on top, you can do that. We've added more sensors on top. You want to get a different angle, you can easily attach a new part of the frame. Now, the frame here also allows you to connect and change where the robots are being placed. All these things are based on a CAD file in a very high detail, so you can look at the CAD file and figure out where things are being screwed. But here we have nothing hurting the Segway or our products, except instead everything is connected to the frame through different connectors. Okay? So this is kind of the first redesign of the Segway, of using aluminum modular frames. We then moved on to the next frame. Here's the second robot.
So the idea behind this enclosure is to create something that's completely independent of the frame, and then secures everything to the Segway, and also reduces the number of wires that you're dealing with when you're operating with the robot. So what I did was I took all the electrical boxes, the computer, the sensor network, and the e-stop box, as well as the hub and the GPS box, and I placed them into a single container. And then in a separate container at the back, I put in the battery box, which would be right here. So this secures everything to the bottom, and it also makes the robot less complicated to work with. And so we're in the process of manufacturing this currently, and mostly I focus a lot on making it simple to manufacture, because once you make one of these, you need to make 6 more after that. So this was designed with a lot of in the machine shop manufacturing as well as 3D printing. So smaller pieces I've accounted for with 3D printing to get difficult angles, such as like these right angles right here. And then, so hopefully moving forward, this makes the robot easier to use, and hopefully more modular, and you won't be restricted to using the same frame year after year, but it still accommodates the old frame and preserves any research that was done on them.
As you can see, the robots have developed over time, and you're probably working on new projects. So keep that in mind of where the robot started, why we changed it, and why we moved on to the newest platform. The next thing you should know is what happens when the Segway runs out of battery. So I'll show you how to change the Segway battery, and in the future you'll know how to plug in the normal battery. To change the Segway battery, you go here. You can be sure to have this screwdriver. The screwdriver is always going to be placed here. It's a hex key, and it's for the Segway. Grab a charged battery. You can look at this explanation sheet to tell you what these lights mean, and you can use them to understand what you should do. Once the Segway's battery is charged, you grab it, and you come Segway. Usually, I always recommend, if you're doing this for the first time, to have someone help you, just because sometimes it's very hard to manage the Segway. You're going to be pulling the Segway on its front. there is a certain point where the Segway has its balance. And this balance, the Segway is kind of, you can feel it that there's no weight on it, it's not going to fall forward or fall backward. Here, Scott's helping. Hold the wheel up, grab the screwdriver, and place it in here. You can make sure it's a little bit hard to hit, but make sure you get the right point and begin unscrewing it. The screw should just fall out. These screws are a little bit difficult sometimes to find. Once you have both screws down, take the new battery pack, press it right up upon the Segway, and make sure that it kind of holds there. You can move you can let go of the caster wheel and it'll kind of resist it. Make sure you have your screwdriver plugged in. With the help of a great friend, you can easily folks. Okay. Once the Segway battery is changed, you can take the new old battery and go back and charge the new battery. You'll know when you need to change the battery because the Segway will start beeping. When it starts beeping, please change the battery and replace it. If you notice anything's going wrong with the batteries, put a note on them and you'll be good. Now you're ready to start using the Segway.